Hi, my name is Brad Magnus, and today I've got a little tutorial series, maybe 2 or 3 parts, of how to model and animate a kick drum in Cinema 4D and have it be affected by a sound, like a song. The song today will be the Avett Brothers Kick Drum Heart. At the end it kind of fades out and there's like the thump 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 of the kick drum, and we'll have that affect the text extrusion depth and the drum itself, a little bit of scaling in there to make it feel like it's getting thumped by the pedal. And this tutorial series, you'll either need Cinema 4D Lite or Cinema 4D Broadcaster Studio. I did want to make sure that as I created this tutorial series that everything I could do in the studio version of Cinema 4D, I could do in Cinema 4D Lite. And so I'll probably show the broadcast or studio version first of how to use the effectors. Obviously that's going to be the easiest solution. But then after I show that, I'll try to jump back into Cinema 4D Lite and make sure that you can follow along as well. So let's get into Cinema 4D and let's make something cool.
Okay, here we are in Cinema 4D, and this is like the finished project file, which I'll try to make available for download if you'd like to see how I made things work. It's probably not the most organized file in the entire world, but should be able to be okay enough for you to see what's going on. So here's the project. We've got the kick drum going based on the sound. We've got a plain effector that brings in the text, all that kind of stuff. So let's take a look at the finished file, which is right here.
Knocks my heart like a kick drum.
So that's it, based on a pretty cool song, one of my favorite bands, the Avett Brothers Kick Drum Heart. Just kind of had a little bit of fun with it, and so let's create a new file and get started. Okay, so here we are in our new file. Worry about our render settings, a lot of stuff when we get to the end, but right now let's just start by creating the drum. So we're just going to come up here and we're going to grab a cylinder. That's what I'm looking for. Change this to +Z, and we'll change its height to 200. I think that's what I did. Either way, we want nice round numbers because we're going to need to do some math later on. So we'll do 200 by, I don't know, I'm just kind of scrubbing here, 300, 325, 320. Like I said, I want even numbers so it's easy to do math, because we're going to need to create like a bevel and all that stuff. We are going to bump up the rotational segments. We'll just double it so that it's a little bit smoother, and boom, you have a drum. Of course, just kidding here. So that's the drum bass. You know, we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to try to use primitives. So after we create the drum bass, we need to create the kind of like those metallic bands that go around the edges. So for that, we're just going to use another primitive here called the tube. And again, we'll go +Z. The outside outer radius needs to be 2.05. Might be enough, might not be enough. We're going to bump that up to 72. The inner radius doesn't really matter, but we'll make it bigger just so that it's obviously a tube in that band there. The height, which is this guy, bring that down a little bit. I'm thinking 205 is going to be too much. Make it a little bit thinner here. Cool. So now you've got that little bit of a band. Let's see, let's zoom in a little, rotate around, and pull it out just a little bit further. So it creates that little bit of lip. We will make that chrome. Now we'll go a little bit. Let's go back to 205. I think that's too much. Shoot. 204. It's hard because there's no lights in this scene yet, but that's going to give us that little band. I'm not a drummer. I'm not going to pretend I am, but it somehow holds the head on, I guess. And then, there's those little metal connector pieces that connect the two sides together. Sometimes they could just connect the drum, but then sometimes they have those long rods, and that's the drum I decided to look at. So actually, because I have this other window open, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to check that. So you got the tube, 200, 205 is outer radius, and 30 for height. That's what I've got. So let's switch back to 205, 30. So I just want to make it match up so that we're making the same thing as we did. I won't jump back and forth a ton, but in this case I think it makes sense trying to get that modeling remembered. So there's our tube. You just Control C, Control V, copy and paste it, pull the tube back to the other end. Doesn't really matter as far as the lining things up because we just need to, it's just eyeballing it. Great. So those are our little bands, and it's pretty simple. Next I want to create the little rods and the little connector clip things. So let's do that. So we've got our cylinder and our ends here, and I realized that I did it differently before, because when we drag and drop the materials on here, I attempted to do this. You know, you usually can add the two materials, and you use a selection tag. Let's say C1, and it should use just the cap, but it doesn't, and I'm not sure why a cylinder doesn't work that way. I'm not sure, and maybe I just don't know Cinema 4D well enough to look into it. But I think I remember while creating this finding out that you can't do the cap selection or something. It was a little bit strange. But so we're just going to go ahead and delete the cylinder. Let's just check its coordinates. Object, it's 200 by 320. So I'm going to delete this out, and then I'm just going to come up and grab a spline, and we're going to extrude it instead. So we'll go 200, great, and then we're just going to grab an extrude NURBS and drop that into the scene, make the circle child of that. Going to grab the extrude NURBS and say we need you to be 320, and then move it into place where it was, right about there. Alright, so that will give us the option now to drop the walnut texture from Grayscale Gorilla and this on, change this to C1. Now we've got the walnut texture wrapping around, which needs to probably be changed just a little. Cylindrical, there we go. So that it looks a little bit better here. So we got some wood texture on the outside, our drum texture on the front face. We won't be seeing the back face, so I don't really need to worry about that. Let's go. I'm just using Grayscale Gorilla's Texture Kit Pro here. We'll grab some metal, and a basic chrome is there. Pull that into the scene and drag and drop it onto those guys. And good. So we've got our drum bass kind of set up here. Let's go back to the object manager and create those little cap things that connect, little metallic rods that connect here. So for the little connector bar, all I used was just, I wanted to keep it really simple shapes. I didn't want to model a whole lot. I'm not a perfect or great modeler. I just wanted to be able to do this quickly and just kind of have fun with it. So I'm gonna double click that. Shoot, I didn't do it right. There it is. So you double click the top button and hold Alt and drag down, and it hides everything. It's a handy little trick I learned recently, and it's pretty cool. The paintbrush thing. thing. So all I did to create those little brackets was I took a cube, dropped it into the scene, made it quite small, like 10 by 5 by 5. It's quite small. Let's zoom in on that. Yep, there we go. There we go. Alright, so that's actually a little too small. Let's just grab this little handle and kind of make it what I want it to be. A little bit thinner, a bit wider. I think that's going to work. So then I just took another cylinder, dropped that into the scene, plus Z, we'll drag this size way down, somewhere around that. We'll make it an even unit, make it 1, zoom out just a little bit, and grab this guy, put 1 on one end. Let's check its dimensions. Height needs to be 320, because that's the size of our drum base there, which might need to be a little bit more, but we'll make that adjustment as needed. Put it right there on the end. Control C, Control V. Let's copy and paste it to the other one on the other end. And right there's pretty close. Alright. So there's that. So that's our like a little connector bar. I'm gonna drag and select everything here, and I'm gonna Alt G, parent it to a null, and I'll call this, I had a good name for this before, but I'm just gonna call it the connector bar. Alright, we're just gonna drag that whole null up. That's 200 high, so something like that, and let's just enable this so everything can be seen. Zoom out just a little bit, pull that connector up, and I think I totally missed it on the scale of this object compared to the scale of our drum here. So let's grab these, and they need to be quite a bit bigger this direction. So it's 35 even numbers by something like that. This is just a preference, you know, it's just, I'm just making what I think will look good, and I am not doing as well as I would have wanted to. Shoot, I want to do it to 15 and at 25. Alright, and then this little bar is way too narrow. Let's make it 3. That's too big. There, how's that? Stick it out a little bit, so let's make this a little bit taller. Make it 4. There. And that's okay. That'll be dandy. Actually, I made a copy of this, but I really needed, before I did that, to go ahead and fillet the edges on it just a little bit. Maybe 1 centimeter, and the fillet divisions 2, 3. That's nice. Just gives a little bit of roundness, a little bit of softness. And so I'll just go ahead and I'll delete that one. And I will duplicate this one and pull it down. So there's our awesome model of the little connector bar. It's not the most amazing thing you've ever seen. It's not exactly technically accurate, but you know, for what's going on in this scene, my scene is just the drum on the screen for just a few seconds. I think it works. So let's drag that into the hierarchy right there. And then we'll grab this whole thing, kind of push it down a little bit more of an intersection, so it looks more like it's actually clasping that the outer ring here. Okay, so we'll grab that the whole null. We'll drop that same chrome material onto it. So we've got a chromed out ring and a chromed out connector bar. And the easiest way, if you have to make these little objects rotate around the drum, would be to use a cloner object if you have a full or broadcast version. But if you have Lite, we'll show that in just a second. So we're just going to come in and, oops, wrong one, MoGraph, cloner object, and grab the connector, put it inside there, change the cloner to radial. The radius is 200, right? Yeah, 200. Let's check that. I think I might need to go a little bit more. Yeah, just a little bit more. 205, sure. And yeah, okay. So that's cool. And now you've got 5 of them. I think I did like 6 or 8. Let's just go 8. Handy. Alright, so that's the cloner object. That was way easy and pretty cool stuff. However, if you don't have the MoGraph cloner object here, I'm going to grab this, make a new copy of it, turn the other one off. So I went ahead and hit everything else. I've got the connector bar. If you don't have the cloner object because you don't have MoGraph, you can use an array object, which will work too. So we'll just, I copied the connector bar out of that hierarchy. We'll drop a new array object into the scene, and we'll make the connector bar a child. So that kind of does some weird things. It like flips the connector bar in a way that isn't right what we need. So we'll take the array and we'll rotate it 90 degrees so it's facing this direction. And you'd think that you'd be able to grab the null object and rotate it back negative 90 degrees and that would do it. Well, it doesn't. You need to go into the objects inside of your null object and rotate it back negative 90, and that should give us what we need. Cool. So that array object will do the same thing. We just need to now make the adjustments to it, make it not as big. Radius back down to 2. I think like 205 is where we ended on the other one. And 8 copies, and you're there. The other way, that I guess I kind of thought about it. I don't know if this really needs to happen or not. But we can also, let's grab that connector bar out one more time. Oops. I'm going to make a copy of it. Hide that, let's hide it all. Alright, so we have the connector bar again. The other way to think about this is that if we take its coordinates and we'll just zero it out, right? And we could take the whole bar, move it, I guess I shouldn't have zeroed it out, but we could move it so that it's up 205 centimeters. I don't know why I do that. It's 205. Make it a child of another null. There we go. Rename this just for the sake of renaming it. Null will be the bar parent. And now, if we rotate the bar parent, just want just the connector, I'll copy it, Control C, rotate the bar parent by 8 divided by 360. So 360.8. It's 45. Paste in a new bar, which will put it back in there. Make it a child. Rotate the bar parent again to 90. Paste. And continue like so. You could use the null to do the same thing that the cloner object is doing. Obviously that's a little bit more work and a little bit slower. We could get through all of them that way. I won't finish this up, but it takes a few minutes to do it. But it's a way you could kind of maybe get away with not having the cloner in C4D Lite. So I'm going to delete this, delete the array object, we'll just use the cloner object that we've already got set up, and keep doing this. There we go. Little paintbrush. I like the little paintbrush tip. Okay, so we've got our drum. It's got everything besides legs. So let's create those. Alright, so we need to make that little leg. So actually, let's go ahead and hide everything else here. And we'll start creating a little leg. So I'm going to just, again, we're trying to work as simple as we can using primitives. Grab the primitive here, and we'll make it much smaller. Something like 10 by 100. Alright. I'm thinking this is like the main like stick part of the leg. Might be too thick. Let's just compare it to what we did in the previous one. We've got that leg. Yeah, it's 5 by 60. So jump back over here. 5 by 60. Okay. Zoom in. And so we need like something that's going to come up and bend off the top and go into the side of the drum, and a rubber foot. So I'm going to just use capsules to create those. Let's do like 6 by 20. I've got a little rubber bottom of the foot. Maybe make it 8 by 30. Cool, that looks good. We'll copy and paste it, pull it up, and this is like, we're going to try to make this more plastic looking. Let's see, 60, 50, and zoom out. Kind of look around the object, that should be fine. So on the leg, we're going to drop the chrome. And on this part, I want it to be plasticky. I'm just going to create a new material. I'm going to make it pretty charcoal black, charcoal gray. Turn the specular. I want it to be a little bit shiny, so I'll turn the specular. The width is kind of narrow. The height is pretty tall. And the inner width, make that specular kind of jump out, be there. Rename that material black plastic. This is drum head. Okay. That's a little too much specular, I think, on that, so let's turn the inner width down and the height down. We'll see more when it gets lit, what's going on. I'm going to grab that, and then I'm going to grab the bend deformer. And that's how I'm going to bend things around. I'm going to grab the size of the bend deformer, make it quite small. Just go like 50, 50, 50. Move it up. Just, I think it doesn't really matter. It's just a visual thing for me. We're going to make them a child of a null. This, we're going to rename the null to leg bend. That's fine. I don't think through the naming conventions of things very much in advance, like I should. Grab that bend deformer, and we will bend it over. And that's going to be a little too much, I think. Gosh. Okay. So let's grab the capsule. We'll make it shorter. And grab the bend deformer. Actually, if we make the height of it not as tall, maybe that'll help too. Yay. There we go. Let's grab that capsule, add a few more segments to smooth it out, and I said something about this bend deformer not mattering where it is, and that was totally wrong. It does matter. It very much matters. I don't know what I was thinking. Alright. Let's grab this bend. That's what we need. We don't need to go past 90 with it. Turn the capsule height down still. Yeah, something like that. The rest will be hidden inside the drum anyway. So there's that. So we got a little leg, and we'll drop this into another null, and we'll just call it leg stand. And good. And this is a handy little thing I found in Studio recently. Is a Symmetry Object. Drop that in there. Now you've got two legs. Grab it, and let's see. Forget how we did that. And we just grabbed the leg and moved it into position. Yep. So let's turn this stuff back on. And zoom out a bit. Got a leg on one side, leg on the other. Obviously, if you're in C4D Lite, you're not going to have this handy little symmetry object, but just make a duplicate copy and you should be good. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this up. The symmetry object is doing everything I'm doing to this object on the other side. Let's go to the front view, we'll be fine. Let's put that down so that it's right about the same level, using those little, using little tick marks there. See, not quite there. Done. Close enough. Now grab that object, we'll rotate it. Let's go back to double clicked with my middle mouse button to get back over here. Let's grab the leg and rotate it on this band, and something like that. I think it's fine. I really didn't like do a ton of research on exactly how everything works on a drum, but this makes sense. You've got two legs that are holding this thing into place. So cool. That's good. Let's zoom out more. Kind of rotate around, and you've got something holding the drum in place. Again, may not be the most accurate model, but we're just going to have it on screen quickly. I'm going to grab the foot here. I need to add that material in. I think it's this capsule. Yep. Let's just create another new material. We'll call it rubber foot. We'll make it black, and turn off the specular, and color. I'm not sure what I just did because I wasn't paying close enough attention. But the color would be pretty much black. we'll make it gray. And just drop that onto the foot. And there we go, little rubber feet. Cool. So we've got our drum all set up, and I should name things, but I'm not going to. So grab a new null. Oops. Grab a new null here, and drop everything inside of the null. And this we'll call our drum container. Drum finished. So we've got our drum completed. Now we need to create some text. So the easiest way is if you have the MoGraph module to grab Mo text object and just change it to my. And we'll go ahead and hide the drum since everything will be kind of created at the world center as we get started, and then we'll reposition, scale, and all that stuff in a moment. So we got my change. I used Nexa, which is before the P because I know my alphabet. I think bold. We'll go with bold if not. I'll go somewhere around 40. Just go to 40. Perfect. 40 caps. A little fillet cap on the front. 3 steps, 2 centimeters. Just gives that nice little bit of a look there on the edges. And cool. Just move, create a copy of it, and we'll move the first one up my heart. And then the last is like so we'll just pull that up. And like so my heart like a. And I think in the other one I kind of like messed with the text size and made it all pretty, but you know, you can do that if that's what you like. For me, we're just trying to get through this at the moment and get finished up. So just move that over a little bit and pull these text objects to the top or all to the bottom, it doesn't matter. I just like them to be together. Grab all the text, pull it down, over a little. Cool. If you do not have no text, I'll show you how to create a text quickly, but then you know you'd create it just like I did for the 3 words. You can create a spline, and it's a text spline right there. You would grab, let's say my, right, that's what we chose. Scroll up to Nexa, extra bold. Then we grab an extrude NURB from the HyperNURBs object. Make those things a child of them. Make the extrude NURBs properties, make that 40 in Z. Change the cap to fill cap. 3, 2, and you've got the same text. So you got my, and you repeat all those steps to get the other texts in there, the my heart like a. Alright, so I got that, my heart like. And I think I'll grab these text objects and push them forward in Z until they are kind of lined up more with the front of the drum. So, something like that. Just a little bit behind. Yeah, something like that. I think that will work just great. Alright, and then, so let's name these so that we don't get too confused. My creating a copy here. I'm going to make this kick, and this drum. As I'm looking at this, I think I realized that this text in the original was actually not next to bold, it was actually light, so that we could have a little bit, or book, so there'd be a little bit of contrast in the weight of the text from over here to here. So we're going to change this, of course, to kick. Actually, I'm going to make it all caps. Hey, what did I do? I did something besides the caps lock key. Away, and this one is drum. So grab the text here. I'm just going to position these into place and size them. I might go ahead and fast forward through all this just so that I don't have to make this tutorial incredibly long. It's great. So I've got the kick drum text lined up on the face of the drum, and that's pretty much it. We should probably create a new material, and we'll just make it a basic white material with a good specular. It's gonna have a little bit of gray, it's not pure white. We'll make specular quite, oops, I didn't mean to go through that. Go back to plastic. The width be pretty narrow, a really big height, tall height, and a good size inner width, so it's a really hot specular on it, so we don't have to use a reflection. It's a little trick that I think is pretty handy there. And then this is white. I have caps lock on. White text. Drop that onto, I should just select all of them. Drop that material on, which it's not doing what I thought it would do. Boom. Okay, so we got our white text, got our drum done, and that's the modeling section. Hopefully you're able to follow along no matter which version of Cinema 4D you have. We've got a good start, and next up we'll be doing a little bit of animating, using the plane effectors to bring in the text, doing a little camera animation, and then the third and final thing we'll do is pull in lights and create that look.